So there was this weird rumor that started to make the rounds over the last couple of days, and I actually had a lot of people reach out to me asking me what I thought about this, and I think it's because some other people started covering it. I know even Sean did, talking about the idea of a Nintendo Switch Lite that had 5G support, so I guess you could be connected anywhere, right, when you're playing on the system. And I thought about it a bit because it sounds ridiculous, but this isn't necessarily the first time we've heard of a Switch that would be able to connect wherever you are. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave Plus channel, make sure you subscribe down below. So first off, this is from 4chan, and when stuff comes in through 4chan, most of the time I just kind of go right by it. I mean, so much stuff gets posted up there, just random, like, rumors that attempt to be started, and it's like, most of them, it's pretty obvious that it's not a thing, like it's not real. It's something that someone just fabricated and dropped there to see if, I guess, it would gain some traction. This one happened to, and maybe it's because of the ridiculous nature of it and the fact that Nintendo will do weird things like this. But here is the posting that's going around currently, saying that a new Nintendo Switch Lite is coming. I've made jokes, by the way, that there is a Switch Lite OLED that would get revealed instead of the Switch Pro. And the reason I've said that is because I just think it would be funny, because it'd be Nintendo out of left field. Everyone's expecting a revision or a Switch 2 or something, and they show up with the most Nintendo thing possible, a revision for the Switch Lite. Yeah. Anyway, this starts with former Nintendo employee here with an exclamation point, so you definitely know that they're from Nintendo. They have a small tip on what the next Switch hardware refresh is being worked on by Nintendo with the Switch Lite with support for cellular networks and a slightly bigger screen. It's tentatively named the Switch Lite 5G. I guess they would probably do, like, I think most of us assume if they do like a new Switch that's capable of 4K, if it's a revision, they would probably just call it the Nintendo Switch 4K or something like that. Like, put that marketing in the title because it's easier to convey the difference of it. But like Switch Lite 5G, I feel like they could just do like Switch Lite OLED, and that would probably sell better than Switch Lite 5G. It says supports 5G and 4G LTE networks in addition to Wi-Fi using the Qualcomm Snapdragon X55 5G modem, which sounds like they just grabbed one of the more recent modems that will be going in, like you can say in like tablets, even like an iPad or something that would have mobile connectivity. 10 to 20% bigger screen over the current Switch Lite, planned for a spring 2023 release, US, Canada, UK, sure. And it appears they would have compatibility with AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, and a bunch of other cellular providers, depending on your region, which that's the part that trips me up about this whole idea, is you'd have to figure out a data plan. And with the Vita, when that was unveiled, it was only 3G, which you can't really do a lot with that. I think the most I used for my Vita when it first came out, I did get the mobile version with 3G just to try it, to see what it was. I figure if I was going to get one of them, I might as well get the one that at least has that option and just not use it if I want. I think I just used Near. There was like this program where you could see footsteps and see other people around you, and it was kind of like their version of, I guess, sort of like Street Pass. Anyway, 3G was not really at all leveraged with the Vita, and they tried to make it simpler by just choosing one company at the time. They picked AT&T, which wasn't a very popular choice if you remember how it was received on stage. Anyway, I had mentioned this isn't the first time we've heard about a Switch that could have some sort of mobile connection when you're on the go with cellular networks. And that's because that good old Foxconn leak from 2016 that I am pretty convinced the person was there, because they got some things shockingly correct, including even like the weight of the Switch and Joy-Cons and the battery capacity. They mention a 4G version. There's a 4G console version confirmed. I feel like Nintendo most likely has played around with the idea of a connected Switch always, that would, of course, use cellular networks. I'm sure in their R&D department there is one that can do it now, but that doesn't necessarily mean it would ever see the light of day, because I feel like Nintendo would run into an issue when it comes to the idea of the data plan and figuring out how you get over that hurdle and making it as simple as possible for people. So that's something Nintendo at least likes to try to do, is streamline everything and try to make it so it's easy at least to have a Switch that will be connected everywhere. And I think when you start getting all these other companies involved, AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, etc., it becomes a bit of a nightmare figuring all of that out for the end user, let alone Nintendo. Also, I would believe that the reason that Nintendo would look to do some sort of Switch Lite revision is for the same reason they did the Switch OLED, which was to raise the price. It went up $50, and people, of course, look at the OLED screen. They're like, well, obviously, it's got to go up in price because of the OLED. But Nintendo, I kind of think, was realizing everything that's been going on with inflation and parts getting more and more expensive as they go along, and they wanted to figure out a way to get them to $350. In that case, I think Nintendo would be looking for a similar outcome with the Switch Lite. But they don't really need to do something with 4G or 5G. If anything, that would be maybe something they'd look into for the next system they decide to do. With the Switch Lite, it's easy. They just do an OLED screen, and that's kind of it. I feel like if they did a Switch Lite OLED, got rid of some of the bezel, right, and the screen just got larger because of that, and obviously the screen looking significantly better, and maybe they up the build quality slightly so it's not all plasticky and it feels a bit more premium, yeah, they could probably just show up and say, hey, this new Switch Lite OLED is $250. And at the very least, people who have a Switch Lite now might look at that and say, okay, it's time to upgrade. And then they'll have their line set up to where they have a $250 Switch, a $350 Switch, and then they probably work to slowly discontinue the current Switch Lite and then that red box Switch. And who knows, maybe they look to go even higher with some other premium model, or they just continue to ride these current Switch models out until they get to next generation. But either way, I don't believe Nintendo would look to do 4G or 5G. There's only so much you can do when you're capped by a data plan that would only be a couple of gigabytes at the most. You're not downloading anything. Like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was 15 gigabytes. I'm not downloading that over a 5G connection because I probably wouldn't even have enough data anyway. But you would at least be able to do things like activating your games, because remember, they still need to call to a server to make sure you can play those digital games on your Switch Lite if it's your secondary Switch. Until you get updates that are probably smaller, and even do some online games. Think of things like Pokemon, where it's turn-based or trading. That stuff you could do. So there is functionality that I'm sure Nintendo is interested in pursuing. Does it make sense to have an entire revision of the Switch Lite in order to add that functionality now? Probably not. Not when they have, obviously, this relationship with Samsung and they could just drop an OLED in and say, hey, now it's $250. But let me know what you guys think about this. With an idea of a 5G or 4G Switch, would you want to see that? Maybe not now, but potentially for the next generation system. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.